Hello and welcome back to episode 3. Now this is one of my favorite areas and there's so much we could go into in this area, but we're going to just give you just a few starting points to get you to think about something maybe a little bit differently. And the idea that we're talking about today is of that around identity. So we're defining identity as who you are being in a given context. Okay, and just that definition brings up an interesting idea because that means your identity changes depending on what context you're in. And that'll make more sense the more you think about it, because you may well have noticed already that you're a different type of person when you're at home compared to when you're at work. You might be a different type of person when you're with friends compared to when you're visiting relatives. So depending on the context you're in will depend on the identity that you access. Okay, so an interesting little exercise just to get you started is if I were to ask you the question, who are you? And then you start that reply with, I am. Just see what comes out next. So how do you identify yourself when you ask yourself that question? I am. And to make it even more interesting, I'm going to ask you to do that 10 times. So you just keep answering, I am, I am, I am. And when you get to the end of that 10, then just look back on your list and then reflect on actually what that means for you. So when you think about your identity, what does it mean for you? Who are you being? And then what you can do is think about the different areas in your life, so the different contexts or the different times and spaces that you spend with people, and ask yourself, who are you being in that context? And then think about a different area and who are you being in that context? And to take that just a little bit further, you can then ask yourself for a context that you're struggling with. So something where maybe you're having a few issues or a few problems, or you're having some feelings that you're wanting to change. Ask yourself, who are you being when you're doing that? And who are you not being when you're doing that? And what we can start to do is begin to get you a little bit clearer on who you are, what your current identity is. Because that means when you have a better sense of who you are, so as Socrates would say, know thyself, then you can start to do what Emerson recommends, and that's trust yourself. So you have to start to know yourself first before you can start to trust yourself. Once you know yourself, you can then start to think about who is it that you want to be. So this is your main exercise, the I am list, and just go through the top 10. So the first 10 answers that come to mind, and really have a think about it when you think, who are you? Once you've got that list, then just apply that to different areas in your life to find out who you're being in different contexts. Then think, in an area where you're having a bit of an issue, who are you being in that context? Okay. Once you've gathered that little bit of information, just reflect back on it and see what you notice. And then I'm going to ask you to think about and imagine, who would you like to be in 5 years' time? So as you move forward 5 years in time, there now, who are you? What do you look like? How do you sound? What does it feel like as you being this future you now? What type of posture do you hold yourself in? What's your body language? What do you believe about yourself? How do you talk to yourself? How do you engage with others? Who are you being when you're being this future you? Okay, and I want you to really paint yourself a picture of who you would like to be in 5 years' time. and see if you can get crystal clear on who it is that you'd like to be. The more we have an idea about where we are now, and the more we have an idea about who we'd like to be in the future, that gives us basically a mark of where we are and where we want to be. And then our challenge is to help us to get closer and closer and closer and closer and closer until we're being that future version of ourselves. Okay, so take the time to think about what you'd look like. How would you sound? What would it feel like? What type of body posture would you have? How would you speak to other people? How would you speak to yourself? What type of behaviors will you be doing? How capable are you? What do you believe about yourself? And just go through each of these questions and think about what is it that you would like to achieve and who you would like to be. Because when we think about the root of the word identity, it essentially means repeated beingness. So it's who you're being over and over and over again. So what we're thinking about is, can you create that image in your mind of who you want to be? And then the more you can connect with that, the more you can do things that are in alignment with that, the more behaviors you can do that will move you towards that, then the closer that gap will get between who you currently are and who you'd like to be. And if you were to then ask yourself, what would be possible if you were to be that future you? What doors would that open up for you? What new possibilities would that allow you to have? Where could that take you? And just give yourself permission to dare to dream about what could happen then. And it all starts from knowing yourself. So a few little exercises for you to go through there. The context and the sort of the area of identity is just such a fascinating area and something that I'm continuing to explore, but it's something that not many people even think about. So if you haven't thought about who you're being, would this be an interesting time to start? So give yourself a good half an hour to an hour to work through those exercises, and then keep coming back and refining that future you until you get that image in your mind that you just think, yes, that is me. And then anytime that you start to do a behavior that's in alignment with that future you, you just affirm that to yourself and let yourself know, this is like me. And the more you can just keep being like your future self in the present moment, before you even realize it, you'll be being that future you now. And then all of those possibilities and things that you just thought about will become realities. So just the briefest of looks into identity, but I hope that gives you something to think about and maybe gives you some questions to ask yourself that you may not have thought about before. And I really look forward to seeing you in the next mini episode. Okay, take care for now. Bye.